morning, everyone. Of course, we'll be turning in our Bibles this morning to the book of Joshua again. Specifically, we will start chapter 14. We're going to tie into some of what Steve was talking about this morning a little bit. Got me thinking about two main characters that we read about in this book of Joshua in the upcoming chapters. Is Joshua himself and, of course, Caleb. Two men still doing God's work in the land of Canaan, and one of them's, I think, about 85 years old, and he's still fighting giants and taking over lands and conquering, and Joshua's about 110 to 117 at this point in time in his life. And we've been reading in the previous chapters that he's been a field general out there with them, going from location to location and leading God's army out there. And so looking at both of these men, they're no slackers. And 14, we got chapter 14 where we'll pick up this morning. Yeah. So with that being said, last week the division of Canaan land started in the chapters we were reading, chapter 13. God had all the way back had been telling them when they left Egypt the land was going to be divided up between the tribes. And that's where we're at now, as that division is taking place. And it's going to be based upon drawing of lots for which locations, but the amount of land is going to be based on the size of the tribe, the amount of people that's in the tribe. Of course, if you'll remember back, we'd already been to the point where before they crossed the river Jordan into the land of Canaan to start possessing it, that the three tribes, Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, had wanted their part on that east side of the Jordan River. And Moses had went along with it after he had some reservations. He was a little nervous there, afraid that once they got that land, they wouldn't want to go fight in the Canaan land. But that was not the case. They made it. They went in. That's where we're at now. And Joshua at this time, like I said, is somewhere between 110 and 117. Even at this age, he's been very effective in his duties as God has assigned him to do. And he hasn't wavered. And he has a history of being like that. Him and Caleb both, as a matter of fact, when they were sent from Kadesh Barnea to go in and spy out the land, did they come back and give a report that melted Israel's hearts? No. They knew God was behind them. They knew what the plan was, and they said they could do it. So these guys have a lifetime of serving God without any failure or fault. And this area I'm talking about here, I just made a note there from on the east side of Jordan. Them three tribes going to be in that area from Bashan down to the Amorite lands, all on the east side of the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. But that's been divided, so we're getting started here in chapter 14. I'm going to read verses 1 through 5, chapter 14. And these are the countries. Now, this is not countries in the fact that we like countries all over the world, but they were somewhat political divisions amongst in this land of Canaan. You had different groups, political groups that were going on. Each had their own king and leader, etc., like that. So that's the terminology getting there. And these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar, and we remember who Eleazar is, high priest, son of Aaron, third son of Aaron, and the priest Joshua and the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for an inheritance to them. By lot was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and for the half-tribe. Now, you got to remember there's a half-tribe. Half-tribe of Manasseh took some land already on the other side. They're going to get some on this side of the Canaan, the west side of the Jordan as well. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and the half-tribe of the other side of Jordan, but unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. No land but they're God's servants, going to be God's servants in the temples. They're going to be sustained by the population, by God. Their inheritance is God. We learned that last week. Those are the words in the Bible. For the children of Joseph were two tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, with their suburbs for the cattle and for their substance. All right. And, verse 5. As the Lord commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did, and they divided the land. All right. So now, based on that, we covered that. Now let's read 6 through 15, see what we can find. Inheritance of Judah is the heading of this. So Judah is the tribe of Judah, of course. These are the descendants of the son of Jacob, Judah. And this is going to be their part of the land. And we already know Jerusalem is part of that from what we know and read today. And so we're going to see how it come about here. Verse 6, and the children of Judah came unto Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, the son of, I'm trying to get these pronunciations down a little. Jephunneh, all right, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that the Lord said unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me and thee in Kadesh Barnea. Now, like we said, what's this going back to? What God said back at Kadesh Barnea? Caleb was there with the 12 spies, and he came back with Joshua, and him and Joshua were the only two that gave a good report. That's what this is referring back to right here. This many years, 40 plus years, his actions at Kadesh Barnea has an influence of how the land is going to be divided up here, what he's going to get. And we're going to read about that. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought him word again, as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. All right. This was in his heart. What he's saying is in his heart. Think about this. These people, these spies knew what was coming up. All they had to do believe that God was going to give it to them. But what happened? They faltered when they went into that land, and they came back and gave a bad report. And of course, it affected the whole tribe, and the outcome for the next 40 years, that bad report and their lack of faith when they came back. All right. But I wholly followed the Lord my God. That's wholly. That's completely, altogether. He done it without doubt, full of faith. Even when he went and saw what was in the land ahead, that there was men there that made them as if they were grasshoppers. And the fear that was among the men, the spies that was with him, he come back wholeheartedly, altogether, and gave a good report. With knowing what was coming up, but he knew God was behind them, and that they could do it, that God would do it for him and Joshua. And Moses sware on that day, saying, Surely the land whereon thy feet have trodden shall be thine inheritance. So Moses is saying here to Caleb, back to that point in time, when they went into that land and spied it out, what we're looking at now is that land where his feet have trodden. And he says, it's going to be his land. And thy children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed the Lord my God. So Caleb's prize, if that's what your reward, however you want to look at it, is he wholeheartedly, without any reservation, followed God. And now he's getting his reward for that. 40 plus years later. May not be right then the next day, but it's coming around. So, let me get on to 15. And now, behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, as he said, these 40 and 5 years. Notice he said God kept him alive. He didn't say I've kept myself alive by eating good and exercising and all this stuff. God kept him alive. God got him through that 40 years. Believe me, it wasn't easy. Eating manna every day, camping in the desert for 40 years. It would have been a rough existence, I think. But he's thankful he knows God got him through it. 40 and 5 years, even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, and now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. 85. As yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. my strength was then, even so is my strength now for war, both to go out and to come in. He's ready for battle now. He is not. There's no doubt in his mind. If God sends him out, he's going to be there. He has no reservations. He's not going to come back and give a report. Boy, there are giants out there. I don't think we need to go. I think we need to jump back across the Jordan River and run hide somewhere. No, here at 85, he's still ready for action. All right? Now, therefore, make sure I didn't skip a verse. I have a tendency to do that when I stop to talk. Okay. My strength was in, so my strength never both to go out and to come in. Now, therefore, give me this mountain whereof the Lord spake in that day, for thou heardest in that day how the Anakims, that's the giants, were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so, be the Lord will be with me, then, right here he knows he's got God's help. That's what he's saying right there. So turn the page here. Then I shall be able to drive them out as the Lord said. He didn't worry about them being grasshoppers. He knew God was with him and he was going to do it. He was going to get the job done. 13. And Joshua blessed him and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite unto this day, because that he wholly followed the Lord God of Israel. And the name of Hebron before was Kiriath Arba, which Arba was a father known as the father of giants, was a great man among the Anakims, and the land had rest from war. So Caleb finishes battle with a bang there at 85. He gets the job done. All right. So we're going to start with chapter 15. Now this is one thing I've got to note here. Bear with me so I don't get lost. But I'm going to summarize the first few verses here because this is locations and towns, and I'll put you to sleep if I read through that right quick. So this verses 1 through 12 are borders of Judah's land. Because we just talked about he's going to get his inheritance. These verses here lays that out. To the north of the Dead Sea, he's got an area all the way down to the south end of the Dead Sea, and that land westward is an area of Judah. And it gives some locations for the southern border and the northern border. But basically, that's what it is. Judah's a big area there. And like I said, Jerusalem is part, kind of right there at it. So, all right. So, I won't get this messed up too bad. So, we skipped 1 through 12. That's those areas. Now, I'm going to start with verse 13 here. And unto Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, he gave a part among the children of Judah according to the commandment of the Lord. So, Caleb's getting a specific area there. According to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which city is Hebron. Hebron. I'm going to say that there. And Caleb drove thence the 3 sons of Anak, Shishah, Talmai, the children of Anak. So he drives them out, and he went up thence to the inhabitants of Deber, which means sanctuary, as a matter of fact. And the name Deber before was Kirjath Sepher. All right. And Caleb said, he that smiteth Kirjath Sepher and taketh to him will I give I can't remember that one. My daughter to wife. That's his daughter. So we've got this situation where the giants are there, sons of these giants. And the battle's got to be waged. And for Caleb to get them motivated here, he is promising to wed his daughter. And her name, I had a note there on it. I think it was Anklet or Adorned was the meaning in her name. So, and now we'll start with verse 17. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, took it and gave him his daughter to wife. All right. Let me see my notes here. Okay, I gotta go to 20. And it came to pass as she came unto him that she moved him to ask her father a field, and she lighted off her donkey, and Caleb said unto her, What wouldest thou? So she's wanting something. He's asking what? Who answered, Give me a blessing, for thou hast given me a south land. Give me also springs of water. And he gave her the upper spring and the nether, which is the lower springs. This is an inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. So evidently in this southern region here where she got this land, it's a dry like region, so water is definitely going to be a necessity. And she had enough forethought to see that it would be necessary to have water, and she asked him for it, and he blessed it. He said, yes, you can have it. So gives you some forethought into her, gives you some sight into her, but again, she had enough forethought to think about stuff like that. All right. Now, 21 through 62. This is another one that I'm going to summarize. These are cities of Judah, and I think I've got a note here. These are the cities of Judah, and in verse 32 we read that it says there's 29, but in this list 38 are listed. So the 9 that they're not considered in the cities were probably too small to be called cities. They were probably just like we call a wide spot in the road at that time there. So I'm going to go skip 21 through 62 to keep from putting you asleep again, because it's the name of towns and cities that most of them I can't pronounce, and I'm sorry. But now I'm going to pick up with verse 63 of chapter 15. Getting close. I know we skipped a lot there, but that's probably better for everybody. Now, the last verse of the chapter 15. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, we know that they're the ones that's been dwelling there. The children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem until this day. There again, one of those areas that were never fully purged of the natural population of Canaanites. As we read, it's a common occurrence into the future. Today, I know it's hard to explain, but it's only by the prophecy of God and the things that God knew aforetime, even back then, that what's going to happen in the future. And that is, if you think about the city of Jerusalem to this day, yes, Israelites possess most of it, but look at the Temple Mount. Look at other areas. There's still an influence of the Muslims there. It's caused trouble for the Israelites. And it's all stems back from that failure all the way back then, that they never fully done what God had told them to do. And it still plagues them to this day. And Jerusalem's not the only location in Israel. Hebron, we talked about last week, still has a Muslim influence there. Jericho is a base seat of I think it's the Palestinian Authority. Jericho was never fully wiped out. All the Gaza Strip, that's the most down there. That's where the giants remained even until David's time. That influence, that from that, is still present today. And like I always say, just reading what's going on here, if you can't see how Israel is still a country today, God's country, it's still in the news, it's still on the front page. It's not no coincidence. There's no other place in the world like that. It's because it's the hand of God is on that land and those people right there. And that's why it's always relevant. And that's why it's still a nation to this day. So other nations have been saying they want to wipe them off the face of the earth, but they can't do it because God's got his hand on that land and those people. Chapter 16. All right. All right. Wait, verse 63. Okay, we talked about the Jebusite problem, of course, the future. And, in Judges chapter 1, there's another mention of battle with the Jebusites. And David takes over, and when David takes over the city of Jerusalem, they are worked on again, and then the Jebusites are defeated. But with that being said, it's just like I said, you still see that there's still a problem in the land that's yet to be cleared up, and it will one day. All right, chapter 16. All right, inheritance of Ephraim. All right, the younger son, I believe, of Joseph, his name means fruitful. If you remember Jacob, when he was there at the deathbed of Jacob, he laid his hand on Manasseh's head and Ephraim's head. And of course, I think Manasseh, if I got my mind right, was the firstborn. So who was supposed to get the blessing? Manasseh or Ephraim? Manasseh. That was custom. That was a thing for the people at that time. The firstborn always got the blessing. But Jacob, in his old age, he reaches over there and puts his hand on the blessing. Guess who it is? It's Ephraim. And Joseph goes to move his hand and change it. But he goes, no, this is the way it's to be. And that's God's way. And that's a theme throughout all the Old Testament here as you go through it. That firstborn one is supposed to get the blessing ain't always the one that gets it. So always keep that in the back of your mind. It's happened 2 or 3 times in the Bible there. And so anyway, inheritance of Ephraim. I'm going to read 1 through 10 and see what we got. And the lot of the children of Joseph fell from Jordan by Jericho into the water of Jericho on the east to the wilderness that goeth up from Jericho throughout Mount Bethel, and goeth out from Bethel to Luz, and passeth along unto the borders of Arki to Ataroth, and goeth down westward to the coast of Yafleti, unto the coast of Beth-horon, the nether, lower, and the Gezer, and to Gezer, and the goings out thereof are at the sea. And that there's close to Philistine country, and that's south Gaza Strip down there always. You know you're getting in that area. So the children of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim took their inheritance. In verse 5, and the border of the children of Ephraim, according to their families, was thus, even the border of their inheritance on the east side of the Ataroth Adar unto Beth-horon, the upper. And the border went out toward the sea to Mikmathu on the north side, and the border went about eastward unto Tamai Shallow, and passed by it on the east to Janohah, and it went down from Janohah to Ataroth and to Naarath, and came to Jericho, and went out at Jordan. The border went out from Tapua, westward into the river Kana, and the goings out thereof were at the sea. This is an inheritance of the tribe of the children of Ephraim by their families. And the separate cities from the children of Ephraim were among the inheritance on the children of Manasseh, all the cities with their villages. And they drave out not the Canaanites that dwelled in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwelled among the Ephraimites until this day, and served other tribute. There again, we're talking about some of that area down there where they were never completely driven out, and even today they are sources of, those are areas of contention, even in our day and time. All right, Gezer, given to Solomon, yeah, that was eventually taken by the Egyptians and then given to Solomon, but we know where it stands now. So, let's see what I got here. 1 through 10, chapter 16. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's it. Got it. Now, let's pick up with chapter 17. I'm sorry, that was a lot of dislocation there, it seemed like, so, but we will go with chapter 17 now. I'm going to summarize verses 1 through 11, see what we got here. There was also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh. Yeah, this is inheritance of the half-tribe of Manasseh. I told you, if you remember, they had already got some on the east side of Jordan, but they're going to have some possession over here, and that's where this is laid out. And the rest of the tribe is going to receive their inheritance here, and we're going to have a brief mention of the Canaanite problem here. So I'm going to pick up on verse 12 and 13. Yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. Yet it came to pass when the children of Israel were waxing strong that they put the Canaanites to tribute, but did not utterly drive them out. So all that means they're collecting taxes from these people. And this, there again, they never fully done what should have been done. They should have been driven out. They should have had no influence in that land. Because how many times did we see as God tells them, they're not supposed to have these interactions. These people in this land, if you remember a lot of what we read coming up, God was warning them. The people in this land, they worship idols. They got a whole different belief system. And they've got practices that are vulgar and vile and just out. God abhors their actions. Child sacrifice, deities, prostitution of men and women. That's what this land was known for. So we just like salt, just a little bit of salt can have a big influence on the taste of the whole meal or the whole dish that you set on the table there. But you think about these Canaanites, that can have that same type of influence as that little bit of salt because they're in amongst the population, whether they be servants or not, and people who work with people and are around people, they talk. They talk, they talk, and they talk. And they're going to have some sort of influence on these Israelites. That was the fear God had when they coming into this land, that they would not fully follow God, but just being next to some of these people, these influences and these practices would rub off on them. And guess what? It happens. And it's all because of the fact right here, what we've been reading here. They didn't leave little books or TV shows sitting around for them to, when they got comfortable in the land of Canaan, to go watching. These people were next to them. They might have been servants. They might have been paying their taxes to them, paying tribute to them. But they were there. And that presence was enough to corrupt the Israelites moving forward into the future. Even to the point where the wisest man that had been, according to the Bible there, he asked for wisdom, King Solomon, he fell for the same practices that those Canaanites had done in the centuries before him. And he had multiple wives, and they had different religious beliefs, and they worshipped other gods. And Solomon, instead of pushing that out of the kingdom, he embraced it and had wives that accepted it. And there, soon after, when the leader of the land started following that practice, the kingdom was divided, and then it was just through a series of bad kings and briefly little good kings, and then it just fell all to pieces to the point where Babylon hauled them off, and they no longer existed to be a nation at that time. So I will, and we got just another minute or two, I think, here. Let's see where I got to. I finished up 12 and 13. I'm going to read verse 14 real quick. And the children of Joseph spake unto Joshua, saying, Why hast thou given me but one lot and one portion to the inheritance, seeing I am a great people, for as much the Lord hath blessed me here too. All right, this is that half tribe of Manasseh, and they're kind of, I think they don't seem happy with what they got. They said, we're a great tribe, we need more land. I think we should have more, which I guess that's customary, some would feel like that, but I think Joshua's response is interesting here. If we read, and we'll finish up here in just a second. I'm going to read 15 through 18 right quick. And Joshua answered them, If thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and that's going to be the higher elevations, the mountainous area there, and cut down for thyself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants. If you're such a great nation, get thee up into that mountainous area, where there's plenty of timber, but there's also giants in that land. And we'll see if you're willing to fight. So that's what they're going to have to do if they're going to have an existence in this. All right. To be near, okay. Be great, but then get thee up to the country and cut down for theft in the land of Persia and to the giants. If Mount Ephraim be too narrow for thee, all right, and the children of Joseph said, the hill is not enough for us. And all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, as wood and iron. Both they who are Beth-Shean, and her towns. All right. And they who are the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spake unto the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, Thou art a great people, and hast great power. Thou shalt not have one lot only, but the mountain shall be thine, for it is a wood, and thou shalt cut it down, and the outgoings it shall be thine, for shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots, and though they be strong. So with their ask for more land, because they was a great land, Joshua's response was, yeah, you're going to get it, but you're going to work for it too. You're going to fight that battle. And this is not a weak group to do battle with. Because what do we know about chariots and horses that pull chariots? God has specifically, throughout they left Egypt, has told them not to put their faith in chariots and horses. They don't need them. But this is what the Canaanites do. And if these men go into battle with the faith of God, knowing that he will defeat them for them, guess what? They will be victorious. If not, it's going to swing the other way. But it's just another, the Canaanites, what I like to picture is the Canaanites, those local people, the population that's there, has no faith in God to do the battle for them. They only have faith in themselves and their chariots of wood and their iron, their weapons of war. And that is not enough to defeat God. And with that, I close, and